I think I am now. I think I'm now live. I have had some technical difficulties getting in. I apologize. It's the first time that I'm doing that. So if there is anyone online, hello. I'll wait a few moments for people to start joining in. I see we've got four peoples. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Janet for giving me this opportunity to talk into the ether. I'm just going to talk, and I don't know if any of you are there or around. Oh, look, I see a comment section. This is the first time I'm doing this. Hi, Merlene. Hi, Lynn. Yay, I'm glad that you're hearing me, Merlene. That's fantastic. Oh, yay, there are people there. That's fantastic. Oh, I'm very excited now. So, yeah, this is hello, Fleck. Hello, Mandy. So yes, there's 11 of us together so far. I'm so delighted you guys are here. You have no idea. And hello, Roz. Can hear you live and clear. Good to be here. It's also good to be here. I'm glad that you're here. Hi, Natasha. Hey, Anthony. Hey, Ant's joining. Ant's not a part of Tribe Sober, but a friend of mine and is joining. And Ant, if I remember correctly, you've been on the sober journey, I think you said 13 years. So well done to you. There's some of us on here who are just a year old like me. So I'll start off by just saying hello. My name is Clive, and I have going to be sharing today about something called the drama triangle, and just going to be giving you some insights into how the drama triangle works, um, and how it could work with us in terms of an unhealthy and breaking an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself because I think that might be helpful, and I also quite like talking about myself. Some of you have it's fifth sorry and 15 odd years now. There we go. So some of you have heard my podcast that I did with Janet, which was great fun. Janet is a wonderful interviewer, and so I decided to stop drinking about just over a year ago. Let me be honest, I decided to stop drinking about 5 years ago and finally actually did it about a year ago after about 17,000 day ones and beating myself up and thinking I could moderate and doing all those things. And eventually I just had to resign myself to the fact that once I had a glass of wine, that opened up the door to bottles of wine potentially. And it wasn't very good for my system, for my weight, for my health, for my relationships, for my work. It just wasn't a very good experience all round. So in September last year, I decided that I was going to do it once and for all, and I absolutely managed to do it. And I'm still doing it and I'm still working hard at it. And like I said in the podcast, I still get triggered and I still have moments where I've wonder, why am I doing this? A drink would be so nice. But I managed to actually, those moments are little triggers that I have, but they kind of disappear. I did a TED talk last week, which was very exciting. Then I got invited to do a TED talk. As you can tell, I quite like speaking. So this is absolutely fine for me to be sitting here speaking. So I did a TED talk about silver linings. But why I'm telling you this is not to brag that I did a TED talk. It is a little bit to brag, but I did a TED talk. But let me stop telling you that I did a TED talk. But what actually happened was is that it was held at a wine estate at the conference, and every night they offered you a glass of wine, which was a bottle basically in the glass. And there was fresh wine in the room every single day for me. And we stayed there for 3 nights. And I felt really proud of myself because it wasn't even on my radar as something to consider. And Probably the last time I've been in a hotel was before lockdown, which was what was in London in February last year. And if there was wine available, I would have probably put a straw in it and started drinking as I unpacked my clothes. So I'm very proud. I'm alcohol-free proud, and I'm proud of my journey, and I'm proud that I now have a healthy relationship with alcohol in the way that I view it. So today I'm going to talk about the drama triangle, because the drama triangle is actually quite interesting in terms of how it fits into alcoholism. And I don't like alcoholism because I don't call myself an alcoholic. I'd have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol and have decided to have a healthy one. So the drama triangle was developed in 1968 by a gentleman named Steve Karpman. And it's part of something called transactional analysis. And transactional analysis is part of what I've studied. And the drama triangle, you may be aware of it actually, and have used it before. But what transactional analysis is about the psychology of human relationships. And what the drama triangle talks about is how we get into relationships and how sometimes those relationships become unhealthy. And one of the ways that he spoke about unhealthy relationships was to speak about the drama triangle. And I even used a ruler because I wanted to be neat for you guys. This is what the drama triangle looks like. So sitting here at the bottom of the drama triangle is the victim. We have the rescuer up there, and we have the persecutor up there. So how this looks in a relationship: someone is in trouble. Okay, they're a victim. They come to you and they say, "I really need your help," and it could be just that, but you feel sorry for them. So what happens is we slip into rescuer mode. So we decide that we're going to be the knight in shining armor, and we almost inappropriately help them with maybe even not by not asking them for their help. We just decide to rescue them. This morning I was choking on something, and well, not choking, I just had a tickle in my throat, and my husband came running over with a glass of flat Coke to try and help me. I didn't ask him to help me, and I really didn't want to drink Coke at like 7:30 in the morning. He stepped into rescuer mode in that moment because he saw me as a victim for what I was going through. So I shouted at him and I said, "I don't want Coke at 7:30 in the morning. Don't be an idiot and bring that to me." So I slipped from being victim to persecuting him. So he then slipped into victim and he said, "I'm so sorry, I was just trying to help." So what happens in these relationships is that we literally move around these and get stuck in them. So what happens is, I'll give you an example. I used to work at a coffee shop, and I used to take a person home. But I lived in Cape Town, and she lived on that side of the mountain, and I lived on that side of the mountain, which meant it was really out of my way. So what happened was, she asked me for a lift home. I was, of course, yes, and it became a regular thing. And I was, of course, I'm the rescuer. So I love helping people. It's absolutely fine. And she was, "Oh, I don't know, I couldn't do this without you. You're so amazing. It's just like, I can have a job because of you." But eventually I started getting a bit irritated, because at about 10:30 at night, I'd be driving her home, then get back to my place after 11, then because I was driving her opposite direction to what I was living. So I started becoming slightly resentful. So I started persecuting her, but I did it in subtle passive aggressive ways. So what I did was, I would turn the heater up in my car and say it was broken, so that she maybe would say to me tomorrow, "No, it's fine, I'll get a lift from somewhere else." Or else what I'd do is I would just be snappy with her and say, "Why didn't you look for your keys earlier?" But then what would happen is that some nights she wouldn't ask me for a lift, and I'd kick into rescue and be like, "Are you okay? Have you got a lift home?" Even though I was persecuting her for wanting to be there. And then what would happen is that she would then bring me a bunch of flowers, and I would go back into the rescuer mode, and then eventually get resentful. And then I became a victim to her because I was stuck in this. So we move along this triangle. I hope it's making sense. Just let me know in the comments if it's making sense. in terms of this. I'm seeing that so interesting, but is it making sense in terms of the drama triangle? But basically, in unhealthy relationships, we step into one of these situations. We become a victim, or we become a persecutor or a rescuer. But we move along them, and we move around them. So, but the same happens with alcohol. Because what happens, thank you that it's making sense. I'm very glad about it. Is because and I can only talk about, we've all been on our own journeys with alcohol, and that's what's so incredible about the community of Tribe Sober, is because we get to experience each other's stories and milestones. But I often used to feel like a victim. I suffer from depression. I struggle with suffer so catastrophizing. I struggle with depression, and I also I sometimes feel down, and also I used to get home from work, and I would have had a terrible day. And sometimes I didn't even. I just felt like I was a victim because I had to work that day. So almost to some extent, I arrived home saying I deserve to be rescued. So what did I do? I went along this triangle, and I opened up a bottle of wine every night. And I decided that I would, because that would be my rescue. So I stepped straight into the drama triangle, and I glugged a bottle of wine, sent text messages to people I hadn't spoken to in ages, posted half naked photos of myself on Facebook. If you go scroll through my feed, you'll find them. No, not really. But I did all sorts of silly things. I would fall against cupboards because because I couldn't, I was binge drinking. But wine was my rescuer. Wine rescued me from the day, I deserved, how many of you have said that before? I deserve a glass of wine after the day I've had. So we get into this drama triangle with wine. But then what happens, this is all mirrored, so it's all very weird, is that the next morning we wake up. And what happens is that we're now feeling persecuted by the wine. So what was once our rescuer becomes our persecutor. We feel terrible. We feel hungover. We beat ourselves up because we did it. And I'm back on day one after 2 weeks of not being there. So what happens is that we start feeling terrible. So we go onto Tribe Sober group, and we like, it's so awful, and everyone encourages us. And then we feel so absolutely terrible that and so that night, what happens is we think, oh, I feel so terrible about what I did. I might as well just have a glass of wine because I had one last night. And I step straight into this triangle again, where wine becomes my persecutor. I say wine, sorry, because it used to be World Without Wine, but whiskey, I was a wine drinker. Whiskey, whatever your poison is, we become a persecutor. And that's how you know you have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, is that the routine with alcohol is that I'm a victim to something, even celebration, whatever it might be. I look for alcohol to rescue me, and the next day I regret it. That's when you need to start considering the fact that, can I moderate? Can I really do this? Because what I am actually in is the drama triangle, and I have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. Anyone see themselves in this triangle before, or still see themselves in this triangle? Let's see in the comments what you're saying. Yep, makes sense. I'm a rescuer. Yes, rescuers. And the problem with rescuers is rescuers get burnt out, for those of you who are saying that you're rescuers. So what happens is when you get burnt out as a rescue, you get tired of helping other people. So what do? Is you become a victim, and you say, oh, I want to play in my own garden. So what happens is that you go look for something to save you. So you open a bottle of wine. So actually empaths struggle a lot with alcoholism and with unhealthy relationships, because I'm an empath, and we get burnt out. So what do? I deserve wine after having to help that person. And the next morning we persecute all over again. So it's just this whole triangle is one that just proves you're in an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. I'm gonna have a look through the comments just because I want to just see what people are saying. I'm aware that I don't want to take up all of your morning, but I'm seeing a lot of you saying that you can relate to it. More I need one, not sure how that fits it. Um, Relate to good so much I deserve a drink. Oh yeah, you know how often I've said that. Those phone calls in the early hours of the morning. Oh Merlene, you and me both. I wish we would been buddy if we would have could have phoned each other. Could have been victims so much easier. The wine witch, absolutely. The wine witch is the persecutor, Natasha. Empaths, yes, it helps me understand it more. Good. It's a vicious cycle and it is exhausting. But remember, and hopefully you can see this in your relationships. We do this with our partners. And that's what makes us want to drink is so often we go our partners and we try and rescue them and they don't respond in the way that we want them to, so we step into persecutor role and we like, actually, you don't know what's wrong. Oh, well, maybe you should work out what's wrong. Actually, it's because I made you a cup of tea when you got home and you didn't even ask me how my day was. So then what I do, I slip into victim, and then what I do is I look for a rescue, and a lot of the time I look for rescuing in terms of wine. So it happens in our relationships and in our relationship with alcohol as we go along. So yes, it is a vicious cycle, Mandy, completely. And that's why what we need to do is we need to step into something called the winner's triangle. And the winner's triangle was developed later. Stephen Cartman, I don't think he actually developed it. Someone else did. And the winner's triangle is how we step out of any unhealthy relationship. And what it is, it's still based on the P and the R and the V. It gets mirrored, so let's do it that way. But what I have is, instead of being a victim, the way to not be in a healthy relationship is to realize that you're vulnerable. So I often say, so I used to be a victim to alcohol, and I would beat myself up, and I was a victim, and those day ones, and I was a terrible person, and I was complete victim, and then I would rescue myself that night with wine. But what we need to do is step into being vulnerable. So that's recognizing our triggers. That's recognizing what makes us want to go for the glass of wine. But also we need to have a voice. What we need to do is we need to speak up. Because so often the victim doesn't speak up. The victim sits in passive aggressive mode in unhealthy relationships. But in terms of our relationship with alcohol, we need to realize that we have a vulnerable relationship with alcohol. So we need to voice it. And that's why being part of a community is so important, and why I love Tribe Sober and have, and stay on it even though I'm not drinking, because I need to at times, and at times I'm not active on the group, but I need to hear those voices, and I need, like Ant saying, 15 years, I need to hear those voices because I know I'm vulnerable. I'm not a victim to alcohol. I am vulnerable to alcohol, but I do have a voice. I can stand up and I can start getting people to be accountable. So what do I do is, when I do feel in victim mode, possibly, what do I do is don't go looking for a rescuer. I go looking for someone who's going to be responsive and caring. Now, rescuers, for those of you who are empaths, you need to ask yourself the question, am I rescuing or am I being caring? If you're being rescuing, you're going to burn out. But what we need to do in our relationship with alcohol is we need to start looking for people who are going to be responsive, or we need to start deciding to care for ourselves. So what I need to do is go into the group, get my voice, say I'm being triggered, get my sober buddy, whatever it is, and I need to step out of the victim mode, and start getting into a place of where I'm looking after myself. So what I need to do is I need to start caring. How do I care for myself? I don't put poison in my body. I play the movie forward. All those tips that Janet and Lynette and everyone have taught us so well, and people have learned in AA and all of those kind of things, is that, so what I do is I go and find a place where I decide to care for myself. So I decide that I am going to have a healthy relationship with alcohol, which is one where I recognize I'm vulnerable to it, that I have a voice, that I can speak up against it, that I'm not powerless to it. I know AA disagree with me in terms of that, but I need to care for myself. And instead of looking at persecuting myself, is I need to step into being powerful. So the next morning, don't go and victim yourself in terms of your next day because of my day one. I need to make a powerful, assertive decision. I know that people disagree with this, but I do believe there's an element of willpower that comes with not drinking. There is a decision that needs to be made to say I'm not going to have an unhealthy relationship. Just like there is a decision to be made to have a divorce after a relationship, and divorce, I'm not advocating divorce, but sometimes it needs to happen. People need to get divorced. And that's the way to get out of an unhealthy relationship. If you have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, the only response is divorce. And we need to step into a powerful, assertive decision to say that I need to care for myself first by realizing that I'm vulnerable to wine, I'm vulnerable to whiskey, I'm vulnerable to whatever it is. And what I need to do is I need to start voicing it. So I need to find communities. I need to start joining organizations, and I need to start speaking out about how I'm feeling, because that's how I step out of an unhealthy relationship. Is this making sense? I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. So I want to just see in the comments if you what you're saying. So and just to make sure that I am not losing you. So vulnerability, real and voice are important. Lovely. I love play the movie forward. I do that absolutely. Kim, thank you. The feeling assertive action is rewarding each and every day, and that's we must celebrate that, Kim. Well done. We must celebrate that and that's why I say I'm alcohol-free proud. That's why I said to Janet that this was making me almost come out to do this talk, because I've not told my friends on Facebook I'm alcohol free, but I'm alcohol proud. Every morning I wake up proud. I woke up so proud that after being at that wine estate, I was in a powerful position where I did not even need to step into the into like wine mode, because I have an unhealthy relationship with wine. Therefore, I have divorced it, and we've broken up, and we are just like a divorce. Sometimes we see each other, and I look at you and I go, "Oh, remember what was I thinking?" Sometimes I go, oh, maybe I should get back together with you. But ultimately what I do is I get into a relationship where I'm powerful, and I decide to be vulnerable about my relationship with alcohol, and I decide to care for myself. So I'm seeing that it is making sense to people. That's great. So what I want to do is I want to talk about how do we step into being powerful. I'm going to end off with this, and then if there are going to be any questions. Part of transactional analysis is someone wrote an autobiography of herself in five steps. And 5 chapters, sorry. So it's an autobiography in 5 short chapters. It was written by Portion Nelson. And this reminded me so much of my journey of stepping out of the drama triangle and into power, into no longer persecuting myself for drinking, no longer being a victim and using alcohol to rescue me. So chapter 1, she says, I walk down the street, there is a deep hole in the sidewalk, I fall in, I am lost, I am helpless, it isn't my fault, it takes forever to find a way out. And how just think of that in terms of your relationship with alcohol. So I fall in, I'm helpless, it isn't my fault, it takes forever to find a way out. It's that realization that, oh, I think I've got a problem here. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. And how often have we done that in our day ones? Oh, I'll just moderate. Oh, I'll just do that. So I pretend I don't see it. I pretend I don't see, that there's no problem going on. I knew I've had a problem with alcohol for many years, and I've only done something about it in the last few years and really committed to divorcing alcohol in the last year. I just pretended that it was fine. And often people tell you that you're just imagining it. So you think that there is no hole. Chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it. It is still there. I still fall in because now it's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It's my fault. I get out immediately. So what I do is that I walk down the street, I see it, I still fall in. Why? Because I've got those I still believe I deserve it, but I know where I am. It's my fault. I know that I need to get out immediately. And that's the realization to come to, where you realize that I need to start taking care. So what happens in chapter 4 is that I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. And that's the journey to start being alcohol free, is I start deciding to walk around it. I don't pretend that it's not there. I don't pretend that it's a habit. I realize that I have the power to walk around it. And chapter 5, and this is what she does in her autobiography, I walk down another street. I choose a whole new path for my life, so that hole doesn't even become something that's on my radar anymore. And that is possible when we decide to even getting to chapter 4 or 5 are powerful positions of choosing how we are going to live our lives. You have a choice to be alcohol free or not. You have a choice to reach out and be vulnerable, or to see yourself as a victim to alcohol. You have a choice to see alcohol as your rescuer, or to see it as your persecutor. It is your choice. And the realization is that you need to come to is that there is a way to step out of the unhealthy relationship. Choose to walk around the hole. Don't pretend it's not there. Don't see it as a habit. Choose to walk down the street and walk around that hole until eventually you get to a point where you walk down an entire another street and find a whole new world, new shops, new things to do, new restaurants that you can see and experience. That's me done. I want to hear from you if this has been helpful for you and if it's resonated, or if there's any questions. So I'm going to go through the comments again. I've spoken, for 30 minutes. Janet did say 20 to 30 minutes. So I've just done it, Janet. And I'm seeing that you are relating to the 5 chapters. I think they're so powerful. I think it's a very, and we do it in so much of our lives. It's not just our unhealthy relationship with alcohol. We do it so often where we pretend there's not a problem in our relationships, where we do things because it's just habit. And what we need to do is get into a point where we actually decide that we're going to live our lives differently. We're going to live in a way that is our power. It's our step into that we step into our power. I'm seeing people saying thank you and giving very lovely feedback, which I'm very, very pleased about. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Because that's also what I'd like to know. So I'm really appreciating the feedback that I'm getting, and that this is related, and this has been something that you have been able to resonate with. Any questions, or anyone want to say anything about where they are in this? So let's have a look. Ant has just said, being alcohol-free has transformed my life completely in so many ways, and all for the better. I made the hard choice, had lots of help. This resonates so much, Clive. Thank you. The 4th and 5th chapters can be such fun, especially when we choose to walk down a street that's just fabulous and filled with all sorts of brand new stuff to explore, and we choose new things to add into our life, and it can be as simple as yoga, but though we can choose so many different things. So yeah, absolutely, Flick. I hear you between 4 and 5, and I think we do. We walk down the same streets, but sometimes we walk down a different street. But as long as what we're doing is we're realizing that there's a hole on that street, and that street, that hole in the street is somewhere where I can shift away from. So yeah, I think that's me done. I want to just thank you for the opportunity to share. I've loved sharing. And I'm loving seeing people saying they're in chapter 5 and 4 and 5, and great. I'm on this journey with you, and I am so aware that sometimes there's a whole. I'm on day 400 on Monday, and I count those milestones because I want to make sure that I am not stepping into that hole, but I am aware that there's a hole in that sidewalk, and sometimes I do choose I have to go down that street, or I choose to walk down another street. Tanya, thank you. I'm glad that the divorce analogy worked well. Yeah, someone does miss them, and then you remember the hangover. Yes, remember those hangovers. So once again, thank you for the time that you've given me, Janet. Thank you for the opportunity, for letting me speak to the tribe. It's such a privilege. I do love the messages, and now that we've moved to Slack, it's such fun. So I really want to just say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for the positive feedback I'm getting. I'm enjoying that it's resonated, and thank you for letting me share a little bit of my story. I will catch you. For those of you who are not part of Tribe Sober and might be listening, just go to tribesober.com, if I'm correct, and you can join up there. It's so dirt cheap, and it's such an amazing group of people to be a part of, and I really do enjoy it. So I would encourage you to do that if you're listening. So yeah, and we chat on Slack, we follow each other's journeys, and we just have a real community. So thank you for this time together. This is me signing off. To all of you, stay strong, choose healthy relationships, and choose a healthy relationship with alcohol. I have loved this time together, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you. Cheers, everyone. Bye bye.